I just want to start with this idea of skills. You know, we were joking about the WhatsApp founder and that, but this idea that, you know, you look at things like data science, you know, obviously we're going to be discussing it afterwards. I mean, we can't possibly quickly enough create sufficient numbers of data analysts and data scientists, etc. So this idea of industry being maybe, and businesses being more open-minded about the type of people they bring in and upskilling them. And then I also want to throw it out as well at the idea of, as a country, are we doing enough about upskilling? So can I just ask you your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we're often asked, you know, what are the hot skills, what are the technologies that people need to learn? And I think it's maybe the wrong question, because if you go back 5 or 6 years, the answer would have been very different. And if you wind forward 5 or 6 years, the answer will be different. So if we focus on, you know, what are the hot skills at the moment, we're going to be continually chasing our tail. I think we need to go beyond that, and, you know, yes, there might be some short-term fixes. We need to go and scour the world to bring talent in, and we need to make that easy. But it's about this learning culture. It's about having businesses recognizing that if they're constantly looking for, you know, to replace somebody that leaves with the exact same skill set, they're going to struggle. You know, there's too much competition. They need to be a little bit more open-minded, look at the graduate who's maybe got a little bit of experience, and develop programs so they're bringing that younger talent in and skilling it up and training it up, and making sure that the work environment is really agile, so that when a new technology comes along, you can move people into that technology rather than seek to go and find it in the workplace. So I don't think it's about, you know, necessarily what are the hot skills at the moment. It's a deeper question than that.
Conor, I know Fidelity, you're very much at the high end of the market. I think you've doubled your workforce in recent years, am I right, between Galway and Dublin?
Yeah.
And I mean, the type of people you're looking for are pretty high end. Would that be fair to say? I mean, how possible is it for you to look at bringing people in who, and you know, developing them further?
Yeah, I think to Richard's point, you know, in some roles and in some cases you will get a perfect fit for what it is you're looking for, right? But the pace of change is so great that it's almost the wrong thing to be focused on. So what we would prefer to focus on in Fidelity is get somebody who's the right fit to our culture and values, who demonstrates an ability to think about things in the right way, and who demonstrates an ability and a capability of being adaptable, right? So that's what's critically important to us, because, you know, as Richard pointed out, the skills of today will not be the skills of a year or two's time. So what we would prefer to do is find people who generally are a good fit, and then put the type of immersion programs in place internally, or reskilling programs in place internally, that can sort of take that person from a 50-60% fit for a specific role to a 90-100% fit for a specific role. You know, and I think as in industry generally in the ICT space, we probably haven't done enough of that to date, and we need to continue to focus on that space. And that's one of the key roles we have to play, while also working with, you know, the third level educational sector to ensure that we get the right supply coming out of universities.
Before I come to you, Brian, I just want to ask Anne, in that context, I mean, you very much represent the indigenous companies, not all small, but some of them small. How feasible is it, you know, if you're in a fast-moving company in the area of software or whatever, to bring people in and then have the time to develop them? And that, I don't know, is that an issue?
It is an issue. It's difficult for our companies for the senior people to get the time to upskill some of the more junior people in the organisation. But we have been working on that in Enterprise Ireland, and in fact we ran a pilot scheme, a skills voucher scheme last year with 40 companies, where we provided them with some compensation to cover the cost of the older senior person and their time to train the younger people. And what's interesting about the tech sector and software in particular is that the learning is quite different to what it might be in other areas. So people learn better through peer-to-peer learning and not the classroom style learning. So that worked particularly well, and I hope, it was a pilot scheme last year, I hope we can run it again. But I think they're the kind of areas maybe where we need to look at in order to ensure that there is upskilling, because it's terribly important, as some of the other panelists mentioned. This is a very fast moving technology, it's changing all the time. What you start learning when you go into college in computer science in your first year may not be of any relevance when you come out. So really what you need is that basis, so that you understand the foundation of the technologies, and then you can build on top of that.
Yeah. Brian, I just want to come to you because for those who don't know, Brian runs CareerZoo, and you have, I think, is it twice a year, about 10,000 people, you know, the punters, the people who are looking for the jobs, and I think a huge number of the jobs that are there are sort of high tech and finance, etc. I mean, what did you find from the point of view of the people who were coming into you? Were they? I know you had upskilling people there, the IT, etc. Were they looking for that, or were they finding, oh, I can't get into these industries?
Yeah, it's interesting because that was the whole idea behind CareerZoo, was that we'd have these high value jobs in a room and beside them have the routes to attaining them. So that's basically who comes to our event, you know. So what we do with in the run up to each event is sort of PR as much as we can these really exciting upskilling opportunities that are out there. I think initially the focus was on people with relevant skill sets, because that was, you know, architects, mechanical engineers, getting them into IT. That was the easier win. But I think maybe, you know, we're probably into an area of diminishing returns in that market now. That's probably been done. And now we need to broaden it out to the rest of the live register and other people who are potentially considering career change. So like we got a guy in media who was a restaurant manager, American guy, 40, lost his job, the restaurant closed, had no background in IT, came along to CareerZoo, did the ICT conversion course, and is now an engineer with Ericsson. Skillnet's of another great guy who's a farmer who's now working in VMware and cloud. You know what I mean? So we need just to, it's what Richard was saying, and we need to just not look at the obvious skill sets, but we need to broaden it out. And, you know, what our companies that come to CareerZoo, what they're looking for are enthusiastic people who are up for a challenge and are really into getting into these areas, and will work hard to do it.